It's 2020, and I don't know if y'all have noticed, but it's not what any of us thought it would be. Climate change, cancel culture, wall building, kid caging, trafficking, mass shootings. We've regressed socially as rapidly as our tech has progressed. Now we're in the midst of a pandemic, and many of us feel helpless to make a difference. Beyond the ballot box, most of us can't change our nation from the top down, but I know we can shift society from the inside out. I'm a localist. For 15 years, I've been nurturing our community by advocating for a local living economy through independently owned businesses, creative culture, environmental harmony, and social equity. My story starts simply. Like many in my generation, I grew up in a children should be seen, not heard household. I came alive in college, embraced by a circle of friends that became soul family. After graduating in 2001, my core crew migrated to San Francisco. Left behind, I craved community and figured others in Orlando felt the same. Around that time, I began to notice how people empower, scheme, and collude to benefit themselves. This seemed very effective at getting results. I knew I wasn't in a position to affect much at the top, so I figured, why not scheme and collude on behalf of what might benefit regular people right in my neighborhood? Gathering people together while calling for community was the first step. From 2005 to 2015, I served as co owner of an organic community cafe in the Mills 50 district. My methodology there was simple: lure people in with parties and delicious food, and normalize the kooky concept that we should actually care for one another. When folks realized that they were in a vegetarian cafe, we congratulated them on being flexitarian. We never preached. Instead, we welcomed them and acted like eating vegetarian occasionally was a totally normal thing people do. This non judgmental, no pressure approach seems effective. Today, Orlando is third in the nation for veg friendly cities. Once people were dazzled by our hummus, they started asking me, why do I feel so good after I eat here? Aside from using beans prepared to reduce your chances of getting gas, I explained that organic food is grown without toxic chemicals and it's healthier for us, the earth, and farm workers too. For me, I was just being a good neighbor to choose ingredients that weren't slowly poisoning them or our planet. Notice this: I fed them the solution, yummy organic food, and waited for their curiosity to explain the need. No preaching or demanding they change or else, just delicious food and facts when asked. I trusted people to follow their intuition after that. Humans are prideful. If we are going to change our deepest held habits and unconscious bias, we don't like to be talked down to. Given time and space to explore new concepts, a healthy dose of social buzz develops naturally. Change isn't so scary to make together. I went from a virtual nobody in Orlando with zero connections to having a lot of new friends and fans around the cafe. Leveraging our popularity, I schemed bigger for our collective good, recruiting neighbors to collude with. We launched a local first campaign and watched gleefully as Orlando blossomed from a transient tourist town that quite frankly sucked to one with locals embracing Orlando's eclectic neighborhood and makers. The mood shifted from sullen and disengaged to highly participatory. We inspired and empowered people to launch projects, and today, our community is completely transformed by the seeds we planted just over a decade ago. A critical mass in Orlando is creating a new paradigm by eating local food, patronizing indie businesses, and going green. The pandemic is shining a light on our interconnectedness, and it's clear we need more local self reliance and fair treatment for less privileged people. The hippies were right. Think globally and act locally. Bringing a community into conversation with one another is a critical part of social change. Pechakucha is a vibrant example of this. Eddie curates the topics and tellers with great intention. We learn how to be better neighbors when we hear each other's stories and discuss them afterwards. When we know better, we do better. And as we reprogram our habits and unlearn our biases, we must insist that in our neighborhood, we use our power as a force for good, where we build and bring each other up. Our community thrives when we care, when kindness and justice are one and the same. I've come to see this form of neighborly activism as similar to the example our most famous neighbor, Mr. Rogers, set for us. He very intentionally and often subversively used his platform in the direction of inclusion, peace, and compassion. He used his privilege well and showed us what a real ally was before those words ever entered the zeitgeist. Revisiting my childhood mentor in a recent documentary, I realized Mr. Rogers influenced me to become the pragmatic idealist I am today. He taught generations of us to use our imagination, emotional intelligence, and caring for others to do the next right thing, to look for the helpers and therefore hope in times of trouble. We are the helpers. Look around and listen deeply. What does our community need? When it became clear that face masks for frontline workers were in short supply, Bonnie Lewis built a rapid response volunteer effort to sew masks and deliver them to the hospitals. We need that. Ask yourself, really ponder, how and where can I pitch in? If you're not from here and feel shy about taking a leading role, just know that Orlando is a town of transplants. Claim this place as home. Walt Disney sure did, and now the creative arts is one of our strongest characteristics in a vibrant melting pot of cultures. Our diversity truly is our strength. We are not without our tragedies or challenges. After Pulse, Orlandians lined up to literally give their blood for one another. We've grieved and marched, changed laws and hearts. Today, we no longer see each other as strangers in a strange land, but neighbors sharing a common future that we can shape with our collective effort. Resist the instinct to disassociate or dramatize for very long. The world's got plenty of bystanders and bullies, but could use a few more upstanders. Plant a garden, sew a mask, feed a friend. This is our Lando, where we declare that we actually care. So when the news gets you blue, remember, we are not helpless, but helpers.